it's more than just a watch. This is where culture meets confidence. And they'll go, oh, okay, so you have your daily reminder on your wrist or on your face card every day, that I feel incomparable. I am incomparable. It's not necessarily the product itself. We don't want the customers to be a walking billboard for incomparable. We want incomparable to be the walking billboard for you.
You're listening to Customer Growth Sessions, presented by Intergrowth, where we talk through strategies to help up-and-coming e-commerce businesses bring in more customers. I'm your host, Pat Ahern. Let's jump in.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the latest episode of Customer Growth Sessions. Today, I'm thrilled to have on Dr. Mario McCoy, the founder and creative director over at Incomparable. Mario, welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate you having me. Appreciate it, man. You made me look important there at the intro. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Especially with the doctor title. That's such a great way to start things out. I love that.
Appreciate it, man. USC, fight on. That's where we got it from. We're still reeling from the dissertation many years later. Yeah, boy, everyone that's gotten a terminal degree, they feel my pain. It's an internal thing. It's just like, yeah, the title's cool, the experience is great, but it's a hazing process when you're getting your dissertation done before you become a doctor. Yeah. It's one the world doesn't envy.
I love it. I was going to say I've heard a lot of horror stories, but maybe for another time we'll dive into that one on a follow-up episode. Talk to us. What is Incomparable? What do you guys do over there?
Incomparable is a premium, eco-friendly minimalist brand. We focus on limited release watches, eyewear, and accessories, and we primarily target modern minimalists, men and women.
And for the listeners that are sitting there pulling up the brand, can you spell the brand for us? Because it's not what you would expect it to be in terms of spelling.
Exactly. It's phonetic, so it's minus the vowels. It's NCMPRBL. NCMPRBL. Social media is Incomparable Life, so NCMPRBL IFE.
I love how quickly you've gotten at spelling that. I can tell you've done it a few times before.
Yeah, I've seen some people botch it. I've seen some people, we talked offline about the extra syllables, and I'm like, I can tell that you didn't do your research because it's on our story page, on our online store. It tells you how to pronounce it at the bottom, and it's on our socials. So it's like, yep, you didn't do too much looking, or you might have just messed up right there, which happens. But yeah, I've gotten people spell it NCMB, or like they'll forget a letter. And I'm like, oh, man, I know you're auto-corrected. I fail you that terribly. So
it's the perfect accidental, like, candidate screening question. Like sales question, whatever it may be. Someone reaches out to you cold. They have an interview scheduled, so quickly, like, oh, this person did at least like the most rudimentary research, or they didn't.
Exactly. And I mean, to be 100% fair, I've definitely misspelled potential partnership brand names and person names. And I've had to go back and be like, oh, I spelled your name wrong. And that's a complete and utter apology. I own it. Sorry. If you don't respond, I understand. But it's actually made people like build their relationships, just with me on an authentic space. And we'll talk a lot about that because that's really one of our core pillars at Incomparable, the authenticity aspect, not spelling people's name wrong, but building their relationships and incorporating that with style. Like, it's one of those things that helps to break the ice, gets the reality into building, takes apart, that wall when you're building relationships with people. So it was cool. Ends up working out in our favor.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. My big element that I've been screwing up recently is muscle memory is kicking in. And now half the time, rather than signing off my name, Pat, in an email, I'll accidentally type out OAT, O-A-T. We have that P right next to the O there. And so I've had a few times that I've hit send and then unsent it. Email saved me there and I've been able to correct it. But it's only a matter of time until I sign off, thanks, OAT. So I could definitely.
It's not your fault, man. It's not your fault. Imagine getting an email and someone says, hi, Oats. And then you're like, got it. Yep. You didn't hit the undo send in 5 minutes, did you? So, yep, it definitely does happen, man.
Well, Mario, tell us, how did you get started with Incomparable?
Realized a pain point, and it was a lifelong dream of mine to initially start, with my own watch company before we pretty much branched off and where we are now. My mom always told me from age 6, she always told me it is man law to never leave the house without a watch on. She was always an individual. She was a social worker, but she liked to make sure that she was really heavy into jewelry and accessories and knowing differences between different carats and gold and different birthstones and things like that. So she exposed me to that at a young age, and I always carried that with me. I didn't really take it too seriously until early high school, but you never really saw me too much without one on from there into my gray-haired 40s that is today. And I give her credit in a lot of that space because it introduced me to style, introduced me to being attentive, and introduced me to a plethora of high fashion, like from different color palettes to favorite colors to things that look good on different complexions and all those things. So it turned into a snowball effect. And it was something that she didn't remember until after I made a publication back a couple years ago. I believe this might have been Swagger Magazine. And I mentioned it. And it was one of those things that she was like, I forgot I told you that. And I was like, yeah, you did. Yeah, I paid attention. Yep, you did. And people know. So, yeah, so that's how we really started. And really continuing on just with the pain point. When we started in 2019, it wasn't, I won't even necessarily give a number at this point, but having a Black-owned watch company wasn't necessarily heralded, popular, looked at as a thing that necessarily spoke to our core demographic. We knowingly and deservedly so. We looked at a lot of the Swiss-made brands. Of course, you have your Rolexes and things like that, that were looked at as like the pinnacle of success. But we wanted to create something that directly spoke to where we come from, that directly speaks to modern minimalists who aspire to be where creatives dictate the culture. And through a lot of trial and error, a lot of really scaling down, which is a piece of what the minimalist lifestyle is, and really owning that space, just really being that preferred premium accessory aspect of taking that trial and error to really just learn and really speak directly to the culture. And here we are.
So one of the things that stands out to me is, we were talking about, there's a million different terms you can use to describe this, but limited releases is what we had decided is a really good way to describe so much of your sales and marketing efforts. First of all, give us some background context. What is a limited release and how does it work for you guys?
Right now, with our watches and eyewear, we don't release any more than 300 pieces. That's a very, very key coined, not really discussed in detail number that I've given in previous podcasts. So all of our listeners, we hope you enjoy it. That doesn't mean 300 pieces per color. We're going to keep that close to the vest. But as far as doing our part, because we really focus on being eco-friendly and sustainably made, right? So, 316L surgical grade stainless steel with the watches and the premium acetate with our eyewear, all of that plays a role in reducing landfill, reducing waste. So we don't mass produce anything because we don't want to contribute to that aspect. And with being a growing business, you don't want to have a high amount of overhead or dead stock just in our particular warehouses where we keep everything. So having that authentically as a place in our wheelhouse within our cultural aesthetic and just being really intentional about that is really, really, really a key cog for us. And just from a outsider perspective, quote unquote, our in-crowd community, like we like to call our customers, it promotes that buyer urgency. Pat, I am a recovering sneakerhead. And I'll put it like that. I'm a recovering sneakerhead. My particular shoe size was high in demand and low in supply. So making sure that we took that feeling of whenever something new and something we were looking forward to that was highly anticipated, when it came out, it didn't have a lot as far as availability. So we wanted to make sure that we took that energy and placed it directly with our watches and directly into our relationship building with our in-crowd community across the globe, as far as like the building up that anticipation to having sneak releases, to having sneak restocks of, certain colorways. And if something goes low in stock, like it builds that continuity. And it really helped because we would have particular people, as we both know, particular people, personalities. Great way of putting it. Personalities. They love to drag their feet when it comes to, I'm going to get this, or, I'm going to join this. And then when they see it sold out and we're not going to immediately restock it, if at all, it's that, I got to make sure I'm quicker on the 8 ball. So that brings forth more engagement. That brings forth more intuitiveness on our end of making sure that we have a comfortable number that has individuals that's going to grow with us, and it doesn't look like a facade. Like we really stick, like I said, our cultural aesthetic, the authenticity, the intention, the inspiration, and advancing, all of that plays a role with what we release and how much we come out with.
Struggling to get new customers? We're here to help. Hey, this is Pat, the host of Customer Growth Sessions. Our agency, Intergrowth, has been helping e-commerce brands like Bella Bridesmaids, Brevity, and JS Dental to get more customers online since 2016. Interested in seeing how we'd help you? Head over to intergrowth.com/CGS to book a complimentary consultation with me. That's intergrowth.com/CGS. All right, back to the show. And for me, I think of it more so, I would say it comes into play on the food side of things. The idea of like the limited release timeline, mainly because Sweden, where I am now, there are all these different foods that are only available for like a month out of the year. And so I find myself eating these foods nonstop during that 1 month of the year. It's terrible for my health. It's like all the sugary foods, all the pastries and everything. Swedes are really funny in that sense. They'll say like, oh, the month of February is the month that you have this one dessert called semla. And
Really?
It's the only time of the year you can get it. You can travel far and wide across Sweden. You're not going to find this thing anywhere outside of February or maybe March if you're lucky. So, of course, February, I eat a ton of semla. And if it was just sold year round, I would never buy those things. So I'm totally with you on that.
Because you have more access to it. It's mass produced at that point for your particular, not even necessarily cultural aesthetic, but just the overall anticipation. It kind of dies down if you know that you can always have access to it. Like it's interchangeable, it's transformational, it's not necessarily limited, to one industry. Like here, particularly where our headquarters are in Houston, Texas. And you may be very familiar with Bath and Body Works. So whenever they have specific scents, whenever they have specific things, like we just notice, even though it's a different product, like it doesn't even matter about the sale. It's the time of year, like specific loyalists that know when a specific smell is coming, how long it's going to be in stock for. They know that they have to get their hands on it first. So we wanted to incorporate that into the overall buying experience at Incomparable to promote that feeling and a look that we like to have amongst our in-crowd community.
Definitely.
Yep.
So I'd love to get, pretty granular into the limited release setup and really just how you roll that out. Let's say for listeners who are sitting here, they're thinking about doing a limited release and they're just looking to figure out, hey, how do we do our first one? Can we go through like a sample example of how you might roll this out? Let's say for a new watch that you're going to roll out.
Great question. Trial and error again, if I'm being completely honest with you and transparent. Now we have our whole multiple step process when it comes from designing with our manufacturers to having specific colorways that are available, specific materials that are available, specific things that we require regarding the eco-friendly aspect. As far as the sample in design, in okaying and going back and rebuilding, having specific eyes on not necessarily being trendy, but giving our in-crowd community what they want as far as specific sizes. We really specialize on unisex colorways, unisex sizes, unisex looks that are going to go with completing their look. Like, what is it that you wear besides watch, eyewear? A lot of it kind of goes back into the whole motherhood thing. I would notice the rings. I would notice the bracelets. I would notice the anklets. I would notice all of this just from a woman's perspective. And from a guy's perspective, we don't really wear a lot of jewelry. It's a lot, maybe a ring, a watch, maybe a smaller necklace, if that, some smaller earrings, if that. So really paying attention to what our ICA, our ideal customer avatar, really likes to wear. That's anywhere from a 12 to 24 month process. So making sure, that's a long time. But when you're going through the actual process itself, it doesn't feel that long. But we have a timeline that we have for specific releases when we're going to come out with things and what it coincides with that's out there with completing the look that we want to have our modern minimalists to have. And seeing how that's evolved over time, we made a lot of mistakes as far as sampling at first. We made a lot of mistakes as far as being very cognizant with different like glass tiers we use. Like the watches, we primarily use either mineral hardlex glass for our more mid-tier price points and sapphire glass for our premium price points. Like all of those things matter, like different levels of scratch resistance, keeps your face looking clean. You don't want to look at your watch and all of a sudden you bang it against the edge of the table and the whole, face is cracked, right? Bad quality, right? So we wanted to make sure that we were, one, just cognizant of the premium material aspect and making sure that we wear it in real time before it comes out. If we're going to come out with anything of that specific design, how light is it? How heavy is it? Different types of movements that we really hone in on, from like the Myoto quartz to automatics to solar. All of those different things matter when it comes to producing a quality, long-standing timepiece. And as a result of that, when we started with the comparable, we originally only had 12-month warranties. Now we have 60 because we want to make sure that everything with the movement aspect of the watch, which is the heartbeat of the watch itself, and that expands to our eyewear as well. We want to make sure that piece gives our customers the peace of mind. It gives a modern minimalist the peace of mind, because our timepieces, they're not fast fashion, they're high fashion. So we want to make sure that we stand behind that and really dot our I's and cross our T's and do everything from design to our final steps and quality control before we do any rollouts to our customers, because building that trust factor is everything, and it builds that brand loyalty. So that's our main thing. The one, inspire the masses, don't be regular, be incomparable, and really be meticulous with it.
Man, that was good.
Appreciate it, man.
Let's say after the product is finalized, talk to me a little about the rollout, the sales process, let's say, of selling the units. One of my assumptions is, dream scenario is we have X number of units. We want to sell out with those units within an hour, let's say, is probably a really extremely good scenario. That's some extreme demand behind it. Maybe more realistically, are there certain like time benchmarks you're aiming for of, hey, we have this new model we're looking to sell out within X number of days? And how do you go about hitting that timeline? Let's talk about that.
Internally, we don't really have a target as far as when things sell out. That has happened. It's happened within 30 minutes. It's happened within an hour. It's happened within a couple of weeks. It's happened within a couple of months, depending on what particular colorways or particular collections and things like that. And internally, it's always cool to see things sell out within a quick time period. And on top of that, we have a notify me feature on our online store, and people are able, if they miss out, first they feel bad. We send them a whole little message like, yep, should have been quicker than that. Yep, you missed it. Get them a little bit of humor, So before we get their email, their phone number information, let them know whenever we're going to have it back in stock. If we restock it, they already have that option. But having that particular rollout first, what we do with our social media, I'm really hands-on really with our social media. We utilize a lot of our Instagram lives, our LinkedIn's, our Facebook, TikTok, et cetera, et cetera. Again, shameless plug, at Incomparable Life, at all of the above. We like to make sure that we speak to them in a manner where I like to call my in-crowd spoiled. And they know that they're spoiled because they know when something's getting ready to come out. They know when something's getting ready to have like a specific price drop. If we do that, that specifically goes to our in-crowd first. And that increases our buyer urgency, because they see that we care about them and how they're able to stick with us just throughout our growth. And that goes specifically with our mass produced aspect. Like, we're not going to do a product rollout or a discount rollout for everyone to have, unless it's like Black Friday, holiday sale, somewhere in that nature where it's more common. But having that, coincide with the new product release, like with pre-sales, we do specific discounts with specific people that spend a specific amount with us. With our Incomparable Rewards program, they can get more. So making sure that they know that we're paying attention to what they like, what they want to see, giving them premium quality, completing the look, and then rewarding, the ones that aren't regulars, that aren't casuals. We like to make sure that we build that relationship up that way. Because again, man, building that brand loyalty and that like trust factor, it's everything for Incomparable.
And I love what you shared there of ultimately treating your social channels as an opportunity to get people in and give them these added perks that come strictly to your followers on these different channels. It's such a brilliant way of building a following, keeping a following, and saying thank you to those people who stick with you the whole time.
Agreed, Pat. And it was a tough switch that we did to be, again, transparent. As we are and were growing the first couple of years, we didn't have that. We had the rollout as far as specifically for discounts and things that were coming out. As we grew, like our email list, SMS list, it went out to everyone at first. And then we started to notice that wasn't as fruitful, like relationship building wise, quality maintaining wise, like over time, that we would see like our data and relationship building just with our customers, the overall engagement. I'm like, so how can we tweak this? And I'm a big coffee drinker, and I shouldn't be. I'm scaling down. I'm scaling down a couple of times a week. I'm scaling down, but I would pay attention to how they would have certain rewards programs and certain perks just for like consumers and returning customers. And this is definitely coincides with my past in retail and in business as well. Just looking to see like what type of rollouts are done to really keep people returning, right? Especially like your loyal customers, right? So really placing myself and my team, placing themselves really to be like in that customer shoes. Like, what would we expect if we're continually building a relationship with their brand and doing business with their brand and doing business with their company? It should go above and beyond just visiting the websites. We pay attention to a lot of things in that aspect, and it's still a work in progress, but we're definitely not where we were a few years ago.
Well, in building upon that, and this is, if I remember correctly, it's specifically for Instagram that you guys do trophy talks. But can you talk a little about that and how that ties into like transparency is, I perceive it as such a big part of what you guys do. Can you talk about that a little bit? People ask me all the time, should I be using ChatGPT to create content for my site? So here's the thing. AI is great at quickly spitting out blog content. It's also great at pissing off your following. If you've spent years building your brand and follower base, why would you risk that all with AI-generated content? At Intergrowth, we work with companies that see their brand as an asset to get more customers through human-crafted articles that your customers look for online. We master your brand voice and work with your team to write the best articles on the internet that bring you customers on autopilot from search engines like Google. Interested in hearing more? Reach out to us at intergrowth.com/CGS to book a complimentary strategy session with our team.
Oh man, yeah, Trophy Talk is good. Trophy Talk is specifically done with myself and my chief content creators and a couple brand ambassadors that we have with Incomparable. And it's evolved over time. It used to be a Watch My Wine Wednesday, but I have epilepsy, so I can't drink as much wine anymore. So we made it the same type of setup, but transformed it to Trophy Talk. And it gives people a behind the scenes look of decisions that we make as far as business growing, decisions that we make as far as keeping our customers engaged and letting them know specific things that might come out. We like to coincide that with another piece that we have with Incomparable called Incomparable Nights. And it's kind of reminiscent of a cell phone provider that sends out a message to specific customers on a specific day of the week at a specific time, giving a specific discount or a specific product release. So we were inspired there and we put our own twist to it. And we did things that are similar as far as a specific discounts or a specific re-release or a specific drop. And it would not be a lot of quantities of said drop if we did it, or said limited release if we did it in our catalog. So we would have customers be very responsive to that because it's really intentional, right? Like it doesn't go to everybody. And we put out our little Easter eggs, right in the live, like when it's coming out, to the point where we get our community. So are we getting a Incomparable Nights text? When is it coming? Today? Did I miss it? Or no? So people that miss it, we put it in our story. Like, did you miss the text? And they were like, oh, so building that, and being really, really intentional there is super important, because it kind of goes with our point we talked about previously, people that drag their feet, the personalities that drag their feet. And I'll just wait until that comes back, or this comes back around, or this time we're not going to do it. And they go, for real? Like, no, you just have to just stay connected and stay engaged, because if not, and we get people, who y'all think y'all are, Apple? It's like, we got to be quiet when it comes to that, because then it ruins the surprise. It ruins the anticipation, right? So we learned that. We keep going.
I love that. This is so fun to hear. And I'm sure that there are one or two listeners right now that have a bad case of FOMO that are thinking like, this is my worst nightmare to subscribe to their newsletter. This is so cool. It's such a brilliant way that you guys are treating community, having it be really, what I'm hearing is like this exclusive community, and then like really like pampering this community by giving them all these access to just these exclusive things as you continue to grow as a brand.
Right. And hit the nail on the head. It's one of those things where they get happy and get stressed out at the same time. And so when we did our eyewear rollout, it took us a couple years, again, because we wanted to make sure that, one, we vetted the correct manufacturers, like to build the long-term relationships with them. This is like before we even got to the design, but we were so knee deep into our men's and women's watches. And we did just the eyewear emoji and we did sustainably made. And they were like, oh, I'm finna do glasses. And we didn't say anything. And so we did the whole trophy talk aspect, and people put two and two together because I've always worn glasses since I was 6 or 7 years old. My mom wears glasses. My dad is. My sister is illegally blind, so she can't wear glasses, but it doesn't really help her vision. So we like to really be intentional about things that really connect with our buyer demographic. And that's to make the transition from watches, which are, if you're a watch aficionado, a watch lover like myself, it's a need. But with eyewear, it's more of a need because you can either wear them for fashion, high fashion, or you're like a lot of us and your eyes need the assistance. So we made the transition, and we got a lot of specific, what we like to call build-up questions. Do y'all have blue light? So we came out with blue light and anti-reflective coating in all of our eyewear standard. So then next was, you have prescription? And then we'll talk a little bit about that. But we made that whole thing build up. It was already a part of our internal warehouse. And we're going to have these steps and these check marks. And we're going to make sure that the customers feel like it's just something that they just asked for. But it was already meticulously planned. So sometimes they're angry with us, Pat. Sometimes they're mad. Sometimes they're pissed. They're in the comments. They're in the lives. Like, so this sold out and I don't like it. I was like, hey, you've been around since XYZ amount of years. You know how we move. So it's really being intentional with that too.
Well, I love that. And it leads to a really, I think, a perfect follow-up question that customer experience, transparency, but also exclusiveness are like three of the really big values of the company. And I'm curious if the exclusiveness and that customer experience ever butt heads, and if that's ever bit you in the butt. And could you talk about that?
Oh, it butt heads a lot. We like to really hone in on exclusivity is essential, right? A lot of people, when we first stuck to our loins of like not really expanding our designs past specific colors, because being a modern minimalist brand, we really wanted to focus on walking that tight rope of being trendy and timeless. Like one of our main taglines is simplicity is timeless. So it's like certain designs that we won't do or we haven't done yet, or we haven't really given a lot of information out as of yet. We would get a lot of individuals that would say, well, y'all should come out with a smartwatch, or y'all should come out with this type of watch. I'm like, but that's not our specific aesthetic. We're not trying to walk into that field as of yet. Oh, I will become a customer when it happens. I'm like, okay, that's great. But then we get a lot of people that will come back around and be like, we really are proud that you guys really stick to your modern minimalist aesthetic, your premium quality. Like we really have seen the growth, and that comes with consistency. But that butting of heads, the whole, I don't wear this, I wear that. I've gotten customers, and my team have gotten customers, prospective customers, or people that were thinking about joining the Incomparable Life, or they'd be like, well, I spent more money here because of they have the name cachet. I just want it to feel good. So we really take that feedback and really incorporate it and put our own spin into it, which is where we have the live the incomparable life. Don't be regular, be incomparable. Like it's more than just a watch. This is where culture meets confidence. And they go, oh, okay, so you have your daily reminder on your wrist or on your face card every day, you know, that I feel incomparable. I am incomparable. It's not necessarily the product itself. We don't want the customers to be a walking billboard for incomparable. We want incomparable to be the walking billboard for you, right? So that's where we were able to connect any type of challenge and turn it into an opportunity. Whenever I talk about me as a CEO, I like to use the acronym challenges equal opportunities. They go, Chief Executive Officer? No, challenges equal opportunities. I got to put out too many fires. So when using that, the exclusivity and the customers of that aspect, it really helped us, and really to drive the point home, to really know who we're talking to. Talked a bit about this offline, but I'm a firm believer that if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one, right? So we have a specific idea customer avatar that at our core that we effortlessly speak to. Right? Like we identify with their pain points. We speak their language. It's pure, it's authentic. And that's the modern minimalist that we enjoy creating for. And when I do the trophy talks, and when I talk a lot about just watches and eyewear and inspiration and competitive analysis, all that other stuff, a key point that I drive home really, and this is kind of, I guess you can say, a segue, or just something that might not have nothing to do with the conversation, but it'll fit. I promise you. Rolex doesn't sell watches. They sell success. Right? So they market in certain areas and they don't market in certain areas. And as a person that plays the long game with building something that outlasts you. That's one of my key tenets that I use with my business clientele. That's something that's really important. Like you're speaking to that emotional buying aspect. And we really like to transition that with Incomparable too.
Mario, this has been amazing.
Thanks, man.
For that want to join the Incomparable group, what channels, let's say on social to start out, would be best for them to follow you on?
Love us on Instagram and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, we spoil you. We spoil you with our weekly Inspired By style editorial. You get access to that on our LinkedIn, but that's after it goes to our email list.
So subscribe to the email list too.
Exactly. So email, SMS, all those things first, and then it goes out to LinkedIn. And by that time, a lot of the pieces that you're looking at, as far as that, we don't necessarily push like the sales or anything like that in that aspect. It's really from my mind's eye to your screen. My thoughts on modern minimalism, my thoughts on specific colorways we have coming out and how it fits well with your livelihood, with your overall aesthetic, or how you want to dress. If you want to change up and be a modern minimalist and all those things, that's where Incomparable really provides that educational aspect without being preachy. But we just preach value. That's really it. But yeah, email, incomparableife.com, of course. Social media, Incomparable Life, right on Instagram. Like that's where our hugest following and most engaged following is on Instagram. So, yep.
Brilliant. Before we wrap up, can you give us the spelling of the brand one more time?
N is in Nancy, C is in Carl, M is in Mary, P is in Paul, R is in Richard, B is in boy, L is in lady. So NCMPRBL.
Brilliant. Once again, listeners, this is Dr. Mario McCoy, the CEO and creative director over at Incomparable. Mario, thank you for coming on today.
Pat, this was great. I appreciate you for having me, man. Looking forward to it again.
Thanks for tuning in to Customer Growth Sessions. If you found it helpful, subscribe and give us a review. It helps us to grow the show. Looking for more SEO guidance on how to grow your business? Contact us at intergrowth.com/estimator or email me directly. You can reach me at pat@intergrowth.com. That's all for today. We'll see you again soon.